but don't consider them as an end by itself. And at that time, you would not, once you have a non-dual state, what instructions would you need anyway? When you are saying, okay, say insurances are saying that you have to spend X amount of time with the patient so that you can do X amount of billing, this and that. Nobody says you have to love your patient. Nobody says you have to like them. That's up to you.
Your wife will mind it.
Right. So those kind of things, those subtle things, the spirituality teaches you. You see a flower, you take a picture, and you can say, okay, it's such and such flower. There is a name to it. This is a phylum, this is a species, this is... You have all the knowledge about that flower. But what about your experience? How much pleasure you had? There is no definition, there are no textbook. It's only your experience. I sent him the picture. Was an amazing thing. We have a lot of deers who come on our backyard, right? And they just make a home. We don't drive them out because we feel bad that this used to be their home. And until we came into the picture, now we give them, it's just not fair. So and not only that, my wife goes over and she feeds them. So all our neighbors says, go to Dr. Shah's house, you will get food there. And they kick them out. But they sit on our lawns all the time. And they poop in the lawn all the time. But it's good for the lawn, it's a good fertilizer. So we have no problem. So yesterday or day before, came back from the jogging, right? And I was passing by one of the poop. Something was coming out of it. All of a sudden I see the tiny mushrooms. So the deer must have eaten some fungus spores, some seeds. And they were sprouting out. Yeah. And that was kind of so unusual. So I took a picture of that. It's so beautiful. And it's like series of so many mushrooms that had come out, and the whole conglomerate of that had created a beautiful, beautiful picture. So I took a picture, right? And I mailed it to him. But I didn't have a proper lenses.
It didn't come out well.
It didn't come out that good, right?
So I recommend him the $1,000 lens.
Right. So it's going to cost me $1,000. I already
because that's the lens that you cannot see
right.
the world on your own eyes,
But still,
it will show you much better world.
Right. But still, whatever it came out, it's still, if you really look at carefully, it's a beautiful picture, right?
So poop cost you $1,000.
And somebody else is not even mine. So the thing is that
It's all about
Jato
the
Vishyam
choice.
Punsa.
Deepak, it's all about the choices you make.
look at
Yeah,
this.
you need space shuttle if you want to go into the space,
Okay.
right?
The thing is that, and the next day I said, all right, maybe I'll try a little better, maybe with a brighter light, or maybe I'll throw some light on it or something. It's gone.
See, all of us have even
It's gone.
$1 million cameras with us.
But it's always
Our eyes.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
right. Man behind camera is more important. But I mean, you still need some type of. Otherwise, you have to wait for like.
Oh,
Yes,
but,
but-
no, but I agree.
Even with the lens, you take picture and we take picture will be different.
Look at it and remember. And that's it.
Agreed, but there are a lot of details that you don't see.
That, no.
that you'll
That's
never
the power of
appreciate.
photography. You cannot see out focus things, right?
Yeah.
Your photography will show you.
Yeah.
Right, and he's right. So we went to that Ken Lockwood Gorge, right?
Yeah.
It was me and Chirag. All of a sudden, one moth came. And I said, Chirag, take this picture. So we took the picture, and luckily it came out really good. But then it just came and flew like in 2 seconds.
Right.
And then the picture, and then I saw the
Show all
details.
the details. Yeah.
And saw the details, the antenna that it had, like a segments, and the very colorful, very decorative antenna it had, and the eyes were like huge. They compared to the size of our head, the size of our eyes are very tiny.
Right.
But these insects have to be careful because the predators are so many.
Right.
So their eyes, literally, if you put the proportion,
Yeah, yes.
our eyes would cover like basically the whole face on both sides.
Right.
If you really, and that size of the eyes compared to the rest, was such a huge eyes. And you look at the creation that nature has done, it really makes you so amazed. And I would have never gotten all these things in that 2 seconds of time. But my
you
lens
see the
captured.
bird, like a texture of the skin and everything. Once you see in the detail,
Right.
that it's a first experience for you. That you don't see that in everyday life.
Okay.
That type of color, shining, textures,
Right.
everything.
That's true.
So the thing is that whatever is going on in this world, we don't have to be impressed with it. We don't have to be mesmerized by it, because that's what it is. It's a mesmerization. Because it makes us forget our true non-dual existence. And half of our life has gone. Another half also we're gonna waste by believing everything that the commercialization is telling us, or the organizations are telling us, and all that. Until we explore our own inside, and the temple is inside, we're not gonna have a non-dual existence. Otherwise, the life will just go on and on and on, and we become slaves. Slaves never think. Slaves are not allowed to think. They are continuously. That's how the Romans operated. They have their slaves. They never had a chance to think about anything, think of any freedom, because they were fed very well. As soon as they're hungry, they're fed. But then they continuously made to work. Nobody could think out of the box. So if you don't think out of the box, it's never going to happen. So the spirituality is a step in that direction. So we have to understand our inside, and that's where the fruits also. And He's there. Our Paramatma is already there. All we have to is just drop our wrong identifications and start sailing with Him. And He's already there. He's eager to accept us, because the efforts will be bilateral. Just your efforts, you just forget your own wrong identification. You drop your ego. Once the ego is dropped, then the Paramatma starts sneaking into your. Because once you get into the details of what's going on, like I said last time, the cause and the effect. The effect is what we see, and immediately we attach ourselves to the effect. But if you really go into the cause, He's the ultimate cause of all the causes. And if you really, even as an intellectual exercise, if you really go into the details of what is the cause, and then you will realize the beauty. Now, it's very simple to hate the whole experience of seeing a mushroom coming out of a poop, right? But you may hate it. But if you really think about the beauty of it, how the consciousness has, because this is all interactions of different molecules, but the very transient and very like a fading beauty, it comes for a second and then disappears. For a very short time, that such a beautiful mushrooms sprang up, and then they're gone. So even that transient beauty that springs up, if you really think what is the cause behind it, it's all the play of consciousness. Then you realize the ultimate power of consciousness. That's when you realize the ultimate beauty, the poetry, which is in the air. It's everywhere. It's all around us. You are a part of that poetry. I'm part of that poetry. And we realize how complex the whole world is. And for it to be acting in such a beautiful way, everything in a predictable way, it's an amazing thing. And when you get amazed, that's the first time you realize that you're dropping your ego. And getting amazed to this beautiful nature, to that, for me it is the nature, for somebody else could be that, could be a painting, could be anything. I have a friend, she is a great artist, Catherine Kincaid, and she says that she does the same thing. She says the only time when I'm painting, she gets so much involved. She paints landscapes. She's in charge of Montreal Art Museum, and she has had a lot of assignments in Tiffany headquarters. If you go into Manhattan, there are huge painting in the front. I never been there, but she was telling, was assigned to her, and she has painted for them. And she has a very, very nice sense of colors and everything. And once she was assigned to paint for a wine company. So she was sent to France in the vineyards. And she says she was there for a week, but for 6 days she had no inspiration. The 7th day, something came up, she painted everything. It's a spontaneous thing. He says, when I'm painting, the only time I can tell that me and the painting are different is when I move and the scene in front of me does not move. And that's when I realize that I'm different than the scene. That's how much you become part of the whole scene. So that's why I said, any field that you take and makes you feel smaller is good for you, where your ego goes down. Now in millions of years, I will never be able to, if I try to create a beautiful scene like that, the consciousness is continuously working. And when we realize that it's operating at such a beautiful and a very grand scale, our ego starts going down. When the ego starts going down, the Paramatma starts flooding in. And that's when you really lose your ego completely, that's when the experience of enlightenment comes. Another slavery that we have, so the only time this slavery that we call slavery is we are our slave to our own ego. Ego makes us do all these things. We think that our mind is the most important thing in the world. And for practical purposes, in the world that we have created, it's a very artificial world because my desires interacting with your desires. At that level, there's always going to be differences between you and me. Yes, I'm friend with you, but there is a line. As soon as I start realizing that I'm losing something, then I'm going to back off. Oh, wait a minute, and then everything breaks loose, and then there is a difference, right? So the whole society is operating is basically interactions of egos. And we give so much importance to the egos because we are attached to the final products of those egos, which is material, could be objects, people, money, situations, whatever our final desires, our goal is. Yes?
Is it not we are accepting that's why we are becoming slaves?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So right now we're doing it for our ego, except that, but we have identified ourselves with the ego. We think that ego is me, and we have to operate that way, and there is no other way I can operate. But the only time you become an observer, you realize that even if you drop your ego, you will still exist. And then true inner joy will come out. But we never think about it because the ego that is operating and then giving you the so-called pleasure in the material world is not really a pleasure. It's what we call gratification. Gratification is something that I desired, I worked for it, I got it, and that's why I'm happy. We call that happiness, but it's not really happiness, it's a gratification. It was my desire to begin with. And then I used an external object to satisfy it, so it became a gratification. But the true inner joy or the happiness was never there, right? If like example, in the retreat, right, we danced. Now, we danced because we were happy. We didn't dance to become happy, right? But we go to a party and we think, oh, you're going to have a dance? Then I'm coming, right? We dance because we wanted to be happy.
Yes, condition.
It's a conditional happiness. You got it. It's a dual experience because we did something to become happy. And there is a huge difference. It's a very subtle difference. In retreat, we are trained, we are thrown into so many ringamarole at the mind level with those lectures, and it really challenges you. And every single lecture is a thought-provoking lecture where he says, oh, is that right? Oh, that's not what I've been doing. But this is what Vijayabhai said that. Oh yeah, right. And then we are made to have the children's plays and games and all that. You become a child. And at that time, if the music starts, you're going to dance. You're going to dance, you won't have a choice. Your legs will move. At that time, you're not conscious whether I'm doing it correctly or not. But on the dance floor, at a party, oh, he's doing good, maybe I should try. You don't exist.
Comparison.
In retreat, you don't exist. And that's what it is. That's what the whole life should be. There should be a positive joy. As soon as I see Chirag walking in, something stirs inside me. As soon as I see Deepak walking in, something just stirs inside. That bond that you have with the people around you, that's what you want to have.
Like Osho says, the dancer doesn't exist. It's
Doesn't
just
exist.
the dance.
It's because you become the dance. You dance because you are a dance. There is no difference.
Dancer is not there at all.
But people who live the life of an ego, they're living the life within that cloud of sansar.
But ego comes automatically. We don't understand why it is
No.
automatically.
Right now, what I tell you, if you understand, ego will become an object for you. You will start observing that ego. And then you will say that, okay, this is what my ego wants, but is that what I want? You are just observing the ego. Nobody is saying give up this or give up that. you start becoming an observer. You create that space between you and the ego. And then you see the beauty of life. That's all you have to do, is just create a space. No instructions. Like I said, because instructions themselves keep you in the loop. It never, if I tell you, oh, you have to do this, this and this, then you will drop your ego. Then you can say, that's what Rajni says. He says, a lot of people come to me that we want to be happy. Okay? Why don't you meditate? You will have peace. He was just giving an example. He didn't say that, but people interpret that way. 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks later. So we've been doing, but we don't have peace. Because now the peace has become an object. Because that's all we know. That's only thing we know is to work for something and get it.
Chase the goals.
So even the peace and the happiness and all that, we make it an object.
We should not have an object.
Right. There is no point in having an object. All you have to do is you have to realize that what you think right now, because think is a key word. Thought is a feature of the mind. Because you're thinking. You drop all these things and just have a little space between you and the ego. You start observing. Then you will say, what I'm doing is totally useless. You will not stop drinking because you should not be drinking. You will drop drinking because it's useless. I have a better pleasure than that. When you start having a better pleasure, the inferior pleasures automatically disappear. I'm not saying it will disappear completely. You might still do it once in a while, here and there and all that, but you're doing to express yourself, your inner joy, not to have that gratification. So there is a very subtle difference. And another thing we do the slavery of is the slavery of our own thoughts and the past, because we hold on to the past. It's that nobody tells you to do, but we do it because we use the past to act in the present, but we never enjoy the present. So we have to bury the past, and we have gone through a series of lecture on that too. So, but that's another I just wanted to mention, because that's our mind has become a slave. Keep doing it because ultimate idea is to gain something. But when we realize there is nothing to gain in this world, and there is nothing to leave behind in this world. You know, people are so conscious about what other people might say. Oh, if I do this, I will have such a bad rap in the society, this and that. Our mind is so occupied with what will be the impressions of the other people about me. And the other people may not even care, but you might think, but what is the, fame and reputations and this and that and all that? We give it so much importance till we die. And then we never come out of all these things to have a true pleasure. So the whole thing is to cut down your ego, because ego is making you think that you have this, you have that. If you do this, people will say bad things about me, this and that and all these things. And you're so conscious about all that. So you're not ready to take the next step. If you have your inner commitment, you don't care. Yesterday I had so many discussions. I mean, I had office full of patients, but we had talked about veganism with one of the patients, and he says, no, but my gynecologist says that you have to drink milk for calcium. I said, I do this, and I got so carried away, and I said, I don't care, because most of the doctors, they follow the crowd. The crowd is an entity that never disappears. The crowd exists in our mind. We create that crowd. Crowd goes on. People come in, stay in the crowd, people drop out, but the crowd is still there. Crowd has its own personality. Crowd has its own existence. And the crowd does not exist, but it does exist. So it's kind of a weird situation, but we make it exist by believing in something. So those beliefs is what's killing us. Because those beliefs, the belief that I am a human being, is preventing me from becoming a bird, becoming a wind. When you drop all those beliefs, you can become everybody. You are nobody. When you become nobody, you become everybody. But the doctors respond to patients' questions based on the current belief of the society. They have seen all these advertisements. Oh, got milk, got milk. So they say, if I say that you don't need milk, this and that, then they say, well, this guy is crazy. I said, no, This is where I differ. I said, I tell you what I believe, and it's up to you, whether you believe it or not. I'll give you facts and figures, and I'll give you reasons behind it, but then it's your choice. And people have followed. Last 2-3 months, I have had patients, almost 8 or 10 patients. They at least tried. I'm not saying they became vegan, but at least they tried vegan. 50 points drop in the cholesterol. And they were vegetarians to begin with. They were not eating meat in the first place. I have 2 or 3 American patients. They grew up over here. They could not give up meat. They were not taking red meat anyway. Chicken and fish, they continued. It's 30 points. And these are the people who had to have a glass of milk every day, and chicken and fish every day, this and that, some kind of meat, this and that. I said, fine, but just take out the dairy products for 6 weeks. And these people had been struggling for, as long as I know, this guy has been with me for 25 years. He's been struggling. He does not want to go on medication. He lives a otherwise healthy lifestyle, plays basketball. You look at him, he's slim, but he would not want to go on medication. Cholesterol, of course, all the time. LDL of 135, 140, 150, but does not want to take a pill. I said, try this at least. He was amazed. He says, this is great. I said, now you drop the other thing and you'll see another 20-point drop. So it's there. It's not something that I have anything to gain or lose, but at least you should have convictions to believe in something and advice. But when you want to be a part of the crowd and thinking what the patients will say, you're not being you. It's a spontaneity that has to come from within.